Okay, so now we're on section 2, and section 2 is lines, points, and planes. And so we're going to go over some important vocabulary and apply them to our practice problems. Okay? So let's start off with practice problem A, and hopefully all of the vocabulary that we went through will help you to go through these problems and understand what they're asking you and what you need to do for each problem, okay? So we'll start with example A. Okay, for example A, they give us this picture, and it's line M, and we know that because it's labeled line M right here, and it has these different points on that line. They tell us that P and Q are 2 points that are on line M, and for A, it says, name another point on line M. So if we already know that we have P and Q as points that they've given us, the only point that we see that's left on this line is point R. So all I'm going to do is write point R, or you could just simply write point R like that. However you want to write it is okay. But for A, they just want one more point. They've already given us these two, and so the only left point on this line M is point R. Okay? Let's go on to example B. Okay, so B says, give 2 other names for line M, okay? And from our vocabulary, we learned that you can name a line with a letter, a single lowercase letter, or we can name it by 2 points that are on that line. So I'm going to call this line either line PQ, and I'm just going to write it. Hopefully you guys can see this, but it says PQ with a line symbol right on top of it. Or hopefully you guys, which I like this one better to name this line, we can name this line PR. And again, it just says PR with the line symbol over it, okay? So you can name lines using one single lowercase letter, M, or you can name lines using 2 points on that line. And so for this case, for B, we put PQ and PR, and we just put the line symbol over top of those so they know that that expresses a line. Okay, so let's move on to example C. Okay, so actually we'll do C and D. For C and D, they gave us a picture that looks like this, and it's 2 lines intersecting each other at point B. Point B is their point of intersection. And for C, it says, name 3 other points that are collinear, okay? And just to recap, collinear means that they have to be on the same line. So the 3 that they gave us already are D, B, and C are collinear. And they're collinear because they all lie on this line right here. And they say for C to name 3 other points that are collinear. Okay, so I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, well, what are three other points that lie on the same line? And so looking at this line, I can see that A, B, and E are all on the same line, and there are 3 different points lying on that line. So I'm going to put A, or actually I'll write points A, B, and E are collinear. And just remember that collinear are lines that are on the same line, okay? So points A, B, and E are all collinear. So that's for C. We'll also do D right now. And then it says name 3 other points that are non-collinear. So non-collinear means 3 points that are not on the same line. And 3 points that they gave us already that are not on the same line are A, B, and C, because C is not on the same line as A and B. So I'm going to go ahead and say that 3 points that are not collinear are points D, B, and E. Although D and B are on the same line, they do not lie on the same line as E, so they're non-collinear. So points D, B, and E are non-collinear, okay? So hopefully that helps you with your definitions of collinear and non-collinear. D, B, and C are all on the same line, so they're collinear. A, B, and E, all on the same line, they're collinear. But A, B, and then C are not on the same line, so they're non-collinear. And D, B, and E are not on the same line, so they're non-collinear. Okay? Let's move on to example E. Okay, so for E, they give us this picture here, and they tell us that 2 segments are, 2 segments are PB and DB, and for E, it says name another segment in another ray, okay? So PB and DB are segments because they have an end point and an end point, and they are on a line. And then we have an end point and an end point, so this is a line segment and a line segment. So the only other line segment that I see here is line segment CB. And I'm going to write it like this. I'm going to write CB and just a line over it. I'm not going to put arrows on it because it does not extend out until forever. It just stops. So that means that it starts at point C and it ends at point B at 2 points. So that is why it's a line segment. They also ask us to give another example of a ray. And they tell us that D or actually, sorry, PC is array. So we have PC and it's array, and it's because it continues on. So the other ray that I see is ray DB, and that's because it goes on and extends to here. And so how I'm going to write that, is DB and a line with an arrow on it. So the definition of array is a line that has an end point, and then it continues on the other end. So we have the starting point, and then it continues only on one end. A line continues on both ends, an array continues only on one end. Okay? Those are all the example problems that we have for section 2. So hopefully with the vocabulary sides and all of the examples that you have a clear understanding of points, lines, and planes. Thank you.